What's up, everyone? It's Turner Fan 77, and I'm here with my partner in crime, bearded Four Eyes man, Adam. How you doing, man?
What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Installment number 3.
Yeah, we are. Episode 3 of We're Not Even Supposed to Watch This Today.
We're not even supposed to watch this today.
We normally don't go on Fridays, but some scheduling conflicts came up, so we're just going to jump right into this. So, where's the first time you saw Chasing Amy?
I was out of college. It was 99. One of my roommates rented it, and I got to admit, like about halfway, quarter way through it, I wasn't into it. I was like, this isn't Clerks. This isn't Mallrats.
Mm-hmm.
It's too poignant. It's too on the nose. It's too, I don't get it just yet. What's up, Michael?
Yeah, what's up, Michael?
It was too much, I think, for my mind at the time. So it wasn't as, kind of aloof as Mallrats is, and kind of as nonsensical as Clerks was. So it was more relationship based. And so at the time, I'd never been in a relationship said like that. So it wasn't something that I wrapped my brain around or could, really enjoy.
I think.
What about you?
I don't remember when I remember seeing it, and I had to watch it twice. Okay, what did I just watch?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like you said, it didn't feel like Clerk, or it didn't feel like Mallrats, but I thought it had some of the adult tones of Clerks. Some of that, I felt it in this one. And if you hear me scream or yell or cuss, because we have a kitten and he likes to attack my feet, so. That's what that
in your mind, it's kids in the background doing what they're doing, So there you go.
So yeah, I don't remember what year it was. I know I was out of high school because I graduated in '96.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't remember. I just remember having to see it twice. Okay, we got another comment here. Michael says, "You're breaking my heart, Adam. LOL. I saw this in '99. Also, I was a senior in high school and really liked this because it was so different than the other Smith movies." Yeah. I get what you're saying. I really do.
It's a very unique film in what they call the New Jersey trilogy, if you will. It's Clerks, if it's Mallrats, it's Chasing Amy. It builds upon itself to get to this point where it's more of a more mature, I guess. Yeah. Mature.
It's very more mature.
Very more mature, but I think we're going to get into why I don't think it's much as more mature as we move forward here in this conversation. And I think that, but it's a great place to start because it truly is the beginning of what I feel is his more mature subject matter.
So I'm going to gather some facts about the movie like I normally do. So let's just jump right into this. Yep. This opened up on April 4th, 1997. That was a year after I graduated. Mm-hmm. Budget was only $250,000, and you could tell.
Bad. Oh yeah. I mean,
you could so tell.
Yeah,
this was a lot of friends. In this,
lot of very small locales. Very actually, as I was mentioning to one friend of mine one time about how the bars look like a lot of the. Now I was only 17 when I was 18 when I was out in Pittsburgh, but there was a couple of the bars that had there were some
like fact check me.
There were also coffee houses that kind of looked like some of the scenes that were the bars in New York at the time. So I kind of very much understood the aesthetic of the bars / coffee houses that that they visited, because that's what it looked like out in Pittsburgh for me in 98, 99 when I saw it.
Nice. The total box office was 12 million, just a hair over 12 million, which for 250,000, I think
that's no brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a no-brainer for anybody wanting to pick up his.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he keeps making movies. I mean, his budgets are low, and they make money. It won 2 Independent Spirit Awards.
Makes
Best
sense.
Screenplay for Kevin Smith, and Best Supporting Actor for Jason Lee.
Yeah, I very much can see that, and actually, speaking of Jason Lee in this role, I think there's a lot of a lot to be said about his character in this that I never caught the first time. That very much as an adult rewatching this, actually I caught much more this time than I did the first time.
Okay, do you like Banky here, or do you like his Brody better?
Well, of course, I'm always gonna have a soft spot for Brody. I mean, it's just Brody, of course, and cheers to Brody there, of course.
Yeah.
But no, Banky, I appreciate his he does put on a performance, but coming back to this as an adult, the nuances of his friendship being a little bit more involved than it should be. There's so much that's at play in that friendship of coworker / friendship / roommate / so much more into those slashes there because, and all those, like I said, if you watch the deleted scenes, all the gay bashing, this, that, and the other. Is he really gay? Is he not? And like you can take that. But I think there's honest to God, there's a brotherhood element that I didn't see the first time that I watched it that I see now as an adult. There's a brotherhood there. And it's like, and that's, hopefully maybe that's something we'll catch up on here pretty shortly.
Yeah. Okay, so we're both physical media guys. So this first came out on Laserdisc in 1997.
Yes. Which I wish I had. I really do.
Me too. Then DVD on June 1st, 2000.
Nice.
So, okay, I'm going to get one more here.
Yes.
More. Both of these Laserdisc and DVD were Criterion collections.
Yep.
Yeah, so you just recently got that, didn't you?
I did. I got it just about a day or two ago. Honestly, I was at the Goodwill and I knew I had to watch it and I saw it there. But I've seen this copy so many times throughout the years and I never picked it up because of the first bad viewing that I have of it. I was like, I don't really want to watch it. And then I really got back a hold of it and I put it in. I really respected it. I really wanted it to be what I was watching, what I was enjoying. And I really do believe that it is something that Criterion was destined to pick up, because just the way that it's written and the way that it's handled, I believe that Criterion was definitely one of those companies. If this movie was made in 2023, 2022, A24 would have picked it up like that. They just would have because it's that. Because Criterion, in my opinion, is A24's grandfather. Like that's what's going on there, and I feel
that is a very good way to put it.
That's very.
I also have that DVD, but it's in storage. I didn't grab it. So I just used my Blu. I'm hoping to get another Criterion. Yeah. And so this Blu-ray finally hit November 17th, 2009. Okay, I got a bunch more. Oh, no, that's it. Because then we go into our notes. I'm sorry. I'm
sure.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
What's disorganized? Mike got something to say. Michael's got something to say here at this point. I'm sure he does, at least.
Yeah. He's quiet now. He said was Jason puts in a hell of a performance, and he really does. Just my thoughts before we get into the deep dive. My thoughts is I still love this movie. This for me. This is a story about a guy who falls madly, deeply in love with a woman that I don't know if she's unattainable. But it doesn't change his feelings. I mean, he loves her so much that he's willing to put himself through the shit that he goes through to love her. And dude, and I get that. I really do. I think why I identify this movie. I love love.
Yeah,
that sounds weird.
I'm a lover, not a fighter. All day, every day.
Yeah, and I love this love story.
Yeah, and I think that's okay, Mike. I think Mike, you and I are going to be on a very similar level on this. And I think what it is the way I approach this film is he loves Ben Affleck's character loves the idea of Alyssa. He loves the idea of what she represents, but he can't handle that idea. So the
Yes.
the physical part, of course, is going to manifest itself. Of course, it's going to. It's physical, you know, that's what it is. But the mental part, if this movie is written the way that I think it's written, being that they're in their 20s, their mid-20s, they're this, that, he can't handle it. So then he becomes, he almost, there's an infantilism that becomes very apparent in the writing. And this is one of the things where I find in this approach of the subject matter becomes very prominent in this movie, because you look and you go, you really watch it, and you watch the acting, you watch the dialogue, and yes, it is Kevin Smith dialogue. We know that. We know, you know, you can pick out Kevin Smith dialogue, 2 days in advance. You're like, that's Kevin Smith. I know that. I can read. But in this case, I just think it doesn't fit. It doesn't, and I think this is where, honest to God, we're going to be Ebert and Roper on there, on this. Honest to God, it's the, I gotta admit, the lack of social skills forward, moving forward, their respectability. And look, here's where I think that one is. You look at their relationship from the beginning. They're bros, they're homies, they're friends, they're roommates, they're whatever you want to call them. They're co-workers, they're this, that, and the other. They're these two guys that created this. What I find, and here's what I noticed too on this one, they create this very sophomoric comic. This sophomore, very maybe not deep driven comic. It's Blunt Man. So you're talking about two dudes that like to smoke weed. Okay, so but then they try to delve into this relationship 8 levels deep on this, on what the surface is, and you're like, this is such there's such a contrast between what the subject matter is of their relationship and their co-working and their everything versus what the story's going to be about. And you're like, I don't get it. How did that play out?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember here. I just watched this the other day.
I know.
Yeah, you really make me think now. And I was like, oh shit, he's right here. Because the subject matter of Blunt Man and Chronic, silly.
Yeah.
And then their story, let's just get right into it, man.
Yeah, like
that made me think. It got deep.
Like their story, Banky and Holden's relationship, very deep. It is deep, and I don't care what he puts on the surface is very deep. These guys clearly have worked with each other for many, many years. They've been friends for many, many years. They know each other inside and out. Yeah, the juxtaposition, because these guys know each other inside and out. I have friends like this. I could pin one of my friends, one of my friends down here. I could pick out his weakness at any given time, his kryptonite, if you will, and exploit it. But I would never do that because I'm not going to do that in front of people. But in this case right here, I think Banky, Jason Lee, literally tells him up front, what are you doing? Like, he literally tells him, what are you doing? This is not going to work. And he tells him over and over and over and over again. And
Holden's oblivious to it.
Yes. And like, okay, I've been in that situation. I can honestly say one of the very first relationships I was ever in. This girl blew my mind. She was gorgeous. She was, everything that I was looking for in a woman, this, that, and the other. But, this situation here. And I would do anything for her. And a bunch of my friends were like, yo, we're not even friends anymore. You're always hanging out with this chick. You don't even like call me anymore. You don't even hang out anymore. What's going on?
Isn't it crazy what love makes you do?
It does. But in this case, I really do think that the Banky character, written from Smith's perspective of this story of chasing Amy, he must have had a friend that literally told him, what are you doing, man? Like, how are you going about this in a way that's going to be anything that's even remotely productive. Yeah, remotely productive, because it's just going to ruin everything. Like, and it's such a Yoko Ono story of the Beatles, and like she's just coming in there and destroying their relationship.
But I don't think Alyssa's that was her intent.
No, you're right there. It wasn't.
No, because she was happy just being friends. Okay, right. Until he has that whole car scene, and which I love that car scene. Like I said about Ben earlier,
the tact are the right words to make hole and see his side and pushes it for. Yes, okay, agreed. That car scene, I watched it again.
I love it.
I paused it several times in that. Okay, but trying to the car scene where he just pours his heart out at this chick. I think as for anybody watching, I'm not trying to marginalize, I'm not trying to do anything here, but as heterosexual men, confessing a love or an infatuation to a female, if you will, when you do that, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of guts, it takes a lot of fortitude, it takes a lot of chutzpah for anybody else. It takes a lot of oomph to say these things, to get it right, to in your head you're thinking poetic, thinking Shakespeareanly. You're like, I'm going to say the right thing, and it comes out as word vomit most of the time. And it does, because we've all been there. It comes out as word vomit, and you try to get it right. And I think he does it very eloquently. He does it very eloquently. But I have to side with her in this case, where she's like, fuck you. Yeah. Because if you spring that kind of word vomit on someone, like, it just matter of factly, not even giving them an ounce of time to think about it. If you word vomit on them like that, it's so much to take in. It's so much to break down while you're doing it. And then their final words are like, what do you think? You're like, right? Yeah. It's like, fuck you. I don't know. I can't break all of that down in 2.5 minutes, because you've had, let's say, we don't know the time frame, but let's say 2.5 months, 3 months, whatever they were doing, to think about that. But if she's still on that superficial level, he's down like 3 or 4 levels, and he's had time to think about that. So clearly, I can understand her reaction to that. But, and this is where I will say this, but when she comes running back to him in the ring, okay, I'm an adult now. I'm an adult. I'm in my 30s, or I'm in my 40s. Okay, I'm 2 marriages in.
Right.
That shit it's a fantasy. That's a fantasy right there. That's a fantasy. That is someone who put that in their mind, because when that person was like, I'm out, you can't stop that from being out, because when that is gone, it's gone. Like, so when she took off and then she comes running back to him, I was like, I watched it this time and I was like, what? Like,
this is fiction.
I mean, it's a word.
It's an example of that.
Yes.
The crossroads later on in the movie, or earlier on. It's earlier on in the movie, right? It's earlier. That's a visual of that. I love that car scene so much. I play it I'll find on YouTube and I'll just watch it. I love Ben's performance. And I'm not ashamed to say this, but I draw inspiration from that, and
yes,
I love
it's
it.
Well written. It's well written. I mean, look, I'm going to side with you on this one. I mean, I might have some gripes. I'm going to side with you. That car scene is well written. It's well versed. It's well. He went method on that. He was putting himself into that. I'll give him that. He really did. There's many scenes in this movie where I'm like, Ben Affleck, you suck. But in that scene, it's heart-wrenching. It is. Okay, look, I might not be the biggest fan of Ben Affleck in these movies, but that's heart-wrenching, because as a guy, if you've been in that situation and you throw yourself out there,
I've done it, and
we've done it. We've had ourselves out there. So you throw yourself out there and you sit there and go, that 2 seconds of silence is an eternity. It's an eternity. We all know that. It's an eternity. But after he did that, her looking out the window and looking back at him as a person, you know that that's an eternity. It is, because you're waiting for that answer. And so I will give that 100% a pass, because that is a scene that even when I was watching, I was like, that's pretty rough. You sit there and you get, because I'm sitting there going, I probably would have said the same thing. I wouldn't have said the same thing, but I would have, I felt it.
When she gets out of that car and he drops his head and he says that one little line, was it something I said?
Yeah.
I fucking died. I fucking died laughing every time.
That's
What's up, Spicy?
Thank you, Spicy, for joining us. Appreciate that. Well, of course, she wasn't supposed to. I agree with you, Mike. She wasn't supposed to come to those terms in that sense. But I also think, with him, please hit that. Thank you. But that's one of those scenes I literally had to stop. I rewound it. I played it again, and I sat there and I was like, all right, I'm gonna give the devil his due on this one, because I was like, I have been there, and I was like, I bet Rich. I was like, I was sitting there last night. I would have wrote down. I was like, bet Rich and I are gonna talk about this car scene a lot. I was like, I knew it, because I was like, because it's good. It's good. It really is. It to me, the car scene, where she's falling in love. We'll talk about that. I had an issue with that. But I was like, that to me was his sitting there and like coming to terms with, I don't think it's maybe his own writing. He was just kind of like coming to terms with his own writing, because again, that was where I think the maturity level kind of took a step up, and he was like, I'm going to throw myself into this writing versus just writing it from a third party. I'm going to throw myself in here. And that's where I think that's, I can honestly say 100%. I appreciate that scene, and I thought it was very well done. Very well done. Yeah.
So we're going to jump back to the beginning of the movie. I kind of took notes chronologically. And as you know, I'm a comic guy. So the opening scene, I love all the little comic book conventions. And I could spot comic book creators that I've actually got to meet, because I'm a big comic book guy. I love them. And I thought that was cool how at that time, no one knew who these people were, really. Like, you probably didn't know who Joe Quesada was, or Mike Allred and stuff like that.
These were underground heroes. They're still underground heroes. I think if you look at heroes in the way that they're portrayed, these are heroes that when someone catches your eye or catches your ear, I can think of 1,000,005 songs that maybe no one would think are love songs, but to me, they are love songs. And if I met that person, I'd be like, that to me is a love song. And somebody go, that's metal. That's like not even,
Hey, what's up, Caveman Movies and More?
Hey, appreciate you. But in that way, thank you. Yes, so much for joining us. But in that way, I can understand why these comic book writers and or producers, the tracers, I don't want to say tracers, but the writers.
Oh, I love that.
They're heroes to a group of people that really enjoyed this stuff. Absolutely. 100%.
You brought it up. We're going to jump right into that. Tracing scene, Scott Mosier, Casey Affleck. He doesn't get enough love, I don't think, Casey Affleck.
Yeah.
I think he's a solid actor.
He is, and I think one of the things I will always give him credit for, because the wife and I, whenever there's nothing that we want to watch, we have thousands of movies at our disposal.
Don't you hate that?
When we have nothing to watch, we put on Ocean's 11. It's always one of those background movies. We watch it, we don't pay attention. We watch it, we don't pay attention. We watch it because we know where it is. But he's such a good little side actor in Ocean's 11 that he's good. And I really do believe that he should get more roles, because he's good, versus his brother in this movie, which I've got so much to pick on, but we'll get to that.
He's saying hi. Spicy saying hi to Caveman. I think Casey Affleck is great. What I didn't realize, I've been going through my movie collection, watching them, starting my zeros, the A's, going in alphabetically. Just finished American Pie movies. I did not realize Casey Affleck was in those movies. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know he was in these. And he's in the first two. No clue.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
On watching this weekend. I have to work, so I don't usually watch a whole lot of movies. Maybe one after I get off sometimes, but I don't know about Adam.
Yeah. I usually pick something from one of my just overtly abundant out of print ones, and I go, I've never watched that one yet. I'm just gonna grab that one for today. Or it's probably something 1,000 times. I go, I don't have anything to watch, and I put in the ones that I put in over and over again. You know, I will always plug one of my favorite documentaries of all time is John Waters' This Filthy World documentary. If you ever get a chance, watch it. It's so good. You get to know the man, you get to know his work. It's a great one. Just sit there and watch. But no, I think Casey Affleck, though, he's in that little scene that he puts in. Even Scott Mosier, because he tries to put Scott Mosier in a lot of
he's in everything.
You know, that scene there. Yeah, because I mean, he's he does the job. I mean, he does the job. You got to put him in there. You know, so it was a great. It's a nice moving forward scene because it actually has a very. It's a very it has some elements of Mallrats in it with the fighting scene in front of.
Very much.
So yeah,
like, he called me a tracer.
That's right. Yeah. Like he attacked me.
Okay, so now we go to in the movie that go to the Q&A with, I forget the black dude's name.
Yes.
I always forget his name, but he's fantastic too.
Oh God, yeah, he's so good. I love in that the word that Michael brought up earlier. I love the juxtaposition of the gay black African American guy who is so femme. The Last Fat Man Beyond. Kevin Smith had a deep discussion about the difference between theoretical and okay, yeah, there you go.
For Chasing Amy or movies in general.
But I love his Louis Farrakhan, very Black Pantherish. You know, got to stick to the man. You know this, but then when nobody's watching, he's as femme as the day is long, and he's just a big queen. He's just a big queen underneath, you know, the pod. And what is too funny is I know some people like that, and I love them to death because the professions they're in, they have to be brazen, blunt, they have to be matter of fact, they have to be very in your face. But one of my best friends in the whole world, he's as femme as the day is long, and I love him for that because sometimes I'll something to him and he'll be like, shut up, and I'm like how do you do that? Like how do you do that in your head? And I love him for that because he's one of those guys that I can see that. But I love that characters. I love his character, and I think it's so great, especially them walking through the CD store and him picking up. And
I thought that was great.
That whole scene is fantastic. It's so good.
And then in that Q&A, we get the classic line, "What is a Nubian?"
Yeah, what is
that follows him wherever. If you watch Kevin Smith's Q&As, there's always someone that stands up and asks,
"What is a Nubian?" Yeah, what's a
yeah. Okay, I'll go back to my notes here. And it's going to jump right into again. They're at another bar scene, and we get it cracks me up every time between oh shit, my mind just went blank. Banky and this dude, Archie being gay.
Yes.
Fuck, cracks me up.
That was I enjoyed that very much. Like as watching it as I got older, and I was like, you know, he makes a lot of good points. I was like,
he does.
If you had the choice between Betty and Veronica, I was like, now me personally, just I would have went Veronica every time because it's Veronica. Come on.
Yep.
It's like it's just Veronica, But if you can't decide and you're sitting on the fence, you gotta choose, brother. Like you gotta choose. It's Veronica. I mean, that's the dark hair, the the very brazen. You know, you got to go with Ron. Come on. You know,
the fact that they get up and go to a local dime store and fucking Brody, or I keep calling him Brody, Banky, is flipping through the books. I know my friends that are like that. That's a very comic book.
They want to prove in the text, the prose, and the right.
Had conversations similar to that. Not a gay situation, but just where the person gets the book out. It's like, look right here. Like, dude, I'm just messing with you.
Well, it always brings me back to that point when there's, and this is why I love Trey Parker and Matt Stone so much. When they're that one, there's a couple of the one where Butters writes the most offensive book of all time. And he was like, they're like, oh, you didn't read into it. He's like, there's nothing to read into. There's nothing. It's on the surface. You are totally taking this out of perspective because these elitists, these bourgeois, these people that always want to read into something. I'm like, there's nothing to read into. It's surface level. It's right there. Like, you can take it for what it is. I'm like, no, you just don't understand. I'm like, no, he just said that's what he did. That's how he wrote it. And like, and I think sometimes the way it goes, but in this case, I think you could look a little deep.
I get the little things that he said. I wish I remembered that character's name, because he's a great character.
Oh God, I know. Oh God, I can't.
I know he shows back up I think it's the end of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back as they're walking out of the theater.
Yes, he comes out and he's like, oh, it's he says something, but it's hilarious. Yeah,
I thought he did. So we still haven't really gotten to anything like super deep. A thing that sticks out to me is them working on the comic book together. Because I wanted to be a comic book artist when I was younger. I loved the little details that they put in, showing them working on Blunt Man and Chronic. And then shortly after that, when that guy calls and says, hey, you want to come to a party? We get a shot of the late great Jim Jacks. He's in a shot, which I thought was kind of cool. I think he's the one that got Mallrats rolling, right?
Okay.
I think I could be wrong, Michael. You let me know. They had a director's cut screening where they had an open Q&A, and all but one person loved the longer version.
Okay.
Opening.
Thank you, Caveman. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I didn't know that, man. Thank you.
Appreciate that. We here in this conversation, Rich and I, we love hearing things that we don't know about, that we love, maybe speaking for you, but I'm saying this as a fellow movie lover, as a brother. We love when people come on here and tell us things that we may not know, and we definitely appreciate it. So thank you.
So if you know something we don't, please share.
100%. Yeah, we're never going to be upset about that, because we want to know more than what we're surface diving here. So anybody that can get that, please appreciate that. But no, I think moving into that scene, the bar scene, I think that's what you're moving towards here.
Yeah,
it's a great scene.
Yeah, they're playing darts. No, wait, no. This is before that. They're after that, because this is when they're going to the gay bar.
Yes.
This is where I'm sorry, I'm trying to read my notes. I took a lot of notes.
Dude, that's all right. It's a long movie. It's a great movie.
The View Askew universe comes together in here, in this scene, or this scenes where they talk about Julie Dreyer, fuck the dead guy at the Quick Stop. I love those. Yeah, I love those little details.
Yes, that I caught that too, without question. She's talking about these people that she knows from a funeral, from a wedding, from a show. That's what I love, how he goes back and forth in that stuff too, without question. That is definitely a Kevin Smith technique that I very much appreciate.
I mean, he tied his universe together before the MCU. I give Kevin Smith that credit.
Yes.
And it wasn't like overbearing. It was just little work nods.
Yeah. It was like, I went to her funeral. I knew she was my friend in high school. This, that, and the other. I fucked him. This, that, whatever, whatever it may be. It's a good it's a good combination
Mhm.
of what you can get away with, and people would go, "Oh, I heard that. I remember that shit."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and I love
you
that.
know,
Before there was an internet, you were like, okay, these connect. You know, this is what I loved about these movies. Uh,
yes,
I don't think these movies would have been as good if they came out after the internet.
no, no,
I-
I don't agree with you.
In my
I think
opinion.
these were made. You know, I might be sounding old here. I may be sounding very past my time, if you will, but these were made when they were supposed to be made. You know, these
Yes.
before the internet. These were made before the idea of that you knew someone's background 10 seconds after you met them. You know, he had to go find the yearbook. You know, we'll get to that.
Mhm.
We'll get to all that. But
Yeah,
what
we'll get there.
you know,
And
you
that's
have,
I love that detail because that's
you know,
never done now.
yeah. But like you had to go. These were all made in a time where time was all you had. And
Yeah.
that maybe I'm not trying to be philosophical, but when we didn't have the internet, time was really all you had because you
Yeah.
had time to go look up these answers. You had time to go look at, you know. Oh, thank you, K-Man. I appreciate that. But what I'm saying is, you understand, K-Man. You
Yeah.
understand why we had time to go find these answers. We had time to go do these things. We had time, even if you worked an 8-hour day, you came home and were like, I I think I need to go figure out where that comes from. You know what I mean? Like you had
Mhm.
friends and you're like, I don't know the answer to this, so then I'm going to go find the answer to it. Now with answers at the, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
ends. You know, we have answers right here. It's not as poignant. It's not as matter of fact. It's not as,
Yeah.
you know, right on the nose, if you will. You know, right there, if it was. But these Chasing Amy was definitely made when it was supposed to be made, because now I don't think it would have had an audience nearly as 90s as the audience was for it when it was made.
And there's it's subject matter in this movie, no way they'd be able to put in without trigger warnings and
Oh,
all that bullshit. I
think of
hate
all.
this.
Well, I mean, how many f bombs they drop in this, and for everybody knowing, I'm not saying fuck.
Fuck. No.
There's f bombs in there, and you know, and I think even if Kevin were to go back and look at the dialogue from this movie, I would hope, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that he would say something along the lines of maybe Chappelle and go, "It was made when it was made, and I said the things that I said because it was the time when I was supposed to say them, and it was the way I was supposed to say them." You know, yeah,
Yeah,
the
I agree.
would be different. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It would be
Yeah.
different. If you look at the reboot, the execution is a little different.
Yeah.
But when he says what he's saying, he's never using these, I want to say derogatory, because I don't think he's meaning them to ever be derogatory. He's using these terms that we all used as common fodder for what
Mhm.
the conversations that we were having at the time. We never meant it to be, oh, look at that guy. He's a, you know, you're not saying that. You're literally just, it rolls off your tongue. But then in that one scene and or deleted scene, she's like, it's passive aggressive gay bashing. And I was like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to disagree. I have to
Yeah.
disagree, because it was never meant as that. Now I can see it from that perspective. Okay,
Yeah.
I can 100%. I take a step back. I can always take a step back and go, I can see it for what you mean. But for us in the 90s, those words were never meant as passive aggressive. You know, we don't talk about Riverdale. Okay, we don't talk
I
about
agree.
you know. But I really don't think that these words, and we only saw them as words. We never put meaning behind them. And I know someone would go, "Yeah, you did." No, we didn't.
Mm-mm.
They were words. They were just words. The way that we use shit, piss, fuck today, like they're just
Yeah.
words, and we just use them as, trigger warning, as you know, as what I'm saying is just conversation fodder. They were never meant to disparage anybody. And honestly,
Yeah.
I come from the small
I have
town.
never used them that way.
We grew up.
Never.
I grew up in a very small town,
Me
very
too.
small, where even if there was a local gay, you know, we'd talk about it for 10 minutes and move on. Like nobody cared. Like it was never, but like I'm saying is like the words or vernacular that he uses in this term.
Mhm.
It was never meant to hurt anybody. It was just the words that we used at the time. They just were, and I hate to say it, but it just was.
I think it's in the first evening with Kevin Smith. This girl stands up and kind of goes at him. And he says he gave the words to the Banky character, who is the silly character, and it kind of nullifies, he doesn't really know what he's talking about.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, passive aggressive line, that's pretty forward thinking okay, yeah, I would agree. It is pretty thinking, to be honest, because yes, okay, give you the benefit of the doubt. It is passive aggressive in the way that you're like, that character's a effing whatever you want to say. We can't say it now because I don't want to get striked.
You're right.
But the thing is, I don't think he meant it like that. I really, I'll stand by that 100%, 1,000%. I don't think he ever meant it like that. Because
and he said his brother is gay. And and his brother loved the movie and didn't think
I mean,
anything wrong with it.
The gentleman that I was speaking of earlier in this conversation, my best friend down here, he is, by all intents and purposes, gay. And we've talked about this 1,000 times over. And the F word is one of his favorite words in the whole English language because he says it rolls off the tongue. It's so funny. It's so, it's so just this and he's like, because no one cares anymore. And he's like, and if you put the meaning and the hate behind it, you're taking away what those of us in the community still find funny about it. We still find fun, laughable about it. And that's what when you put the message behind it, sometimes the message gets lost in
it does.
And that's the whole thing. And we sit there and we just joke about it. And I was listening to a guy the other day. He's like, I say that word all the time when I'm home by myself or if somebody cuts me off in traffic. And he's like, and he's like, I don't mean it in that you're gay. It's never meant like that.
Yeah.
Nobody said it like that. It's just a word. And I think some people would come in, maybe we have viewers that would come on here and 100% disagree with us. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Maybe
we would never disparage you for your opinions. No.
100%.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the words and the vernacular again that he used in this, I think it's perfect for the time. Perfect. And Banky's character, the way that he uses it, right there. We make anything work for an argument. And I say that's true, but that's what I mean. Like the way that one would use it now, 100% they would use it to disparage someone because they want it for their side. And I'm trying to. I hope people understand this. You're using it, even if you think that you're using it to not say it. You're using it to help your side. Yeah. You're not using it just as a floaty, just a word. You're not doing it. You're putting power behind it. So when he writes it, I firmly believe this. When he writes the way that he wrote, it was just floaty. It wasn't supposed to be, matter of fact. It was, it was just the way people talked. This is what it is. Yeah. So I apologize if I took over there, but I
love it. And you have a great take on it, and I really appreciate it.
The words that people then they want to put the power behind, and when you take away the power, words are just words. They're just words. No, that's what it is. I've been chubby my whole life. People call me husky and fat.
Me too. Me too.
And when you take away the power, you just go, "Yeah, I am fat. It sucks. Yeah. This is terrible." Chubby, I'm husky. I had to wear the XXL jeans when I was a kid. I had to put the X on my helmet when I played Little League sports. But when you take away the power, it doesn't. It is what it is. You take away the power of the words. They're just words. They're never going to hurt you. I promise they will never hurt you in the long run. They're just words.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So back to that scene.
Sure.
Okay, we get Alyssa going on stage. She's singing with their friends, and she's talking, right? Saying something, and Holden thinks she's talking. she's talking to him, and you know, Banky's looking around like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. Like I know
And
what this is, you know.
yeah, and then he's like all dancing, like she's gonna come give him a hug. Then you get the alarms going off, and then you get the Holden look.
Yes, the team was well, his heterosexual brain kicks in, not his world thinking brain, not his 30s and 40s brain, his early 20s brain, which we will come back to, because his early 20s brain is like going, what the fuck, man? Like this is not what I signed up for, you know, like and that's and I get it.
That's a shared moment. I love that.
I had to put myself back in that time, because you sit there and go, I am not worldly. I don't have a lot of wisdom behind me. I don't have a lot of things that I should say or not say in said situation. He's thinking straight 100% in the scene. He's thinking with his dick. And so like, and you can't at a certain age when you watch this, you go, and like, what's the, like, you're thinking, and like, you're just going, okay, so she's making out with a chick, and like, where, okay, like, but him, then Ben Affleck, Holden, in this character, in this moment, he's thinking, the fuck did I sign up for?
And I love the difference between Banky's character and Holden's character. Holden's sitting there pouting, and Banky's like, shit, let's talk. I want to know this.
He's clapping his hands. He's like, his straight heterosexual going, there's dykes around here everywhere, and I can watch what's going on here, and this, and I apologize if I use the D word around here if anybody's watching. I'm just saying from the character perspective. He's like, there's a bunch of lesbos around here, and I can take advantage of this because I'm watching it from this perspective, you know.
Right?
You know, and I think where Banky's character takes over, and he goes, I'm going to exploit this situation because I want to know more about this situation. Where Holden sulking like a little baby. Baby. Like straight up baby, like a
He's pouting. He has that pouty face on.
So pouting, and Banky's like, I'm gonna take advantage of this because I want.
He's like, shut up! You're gonna sound even more stupid than you normally do.
Yeah, it's.
And I didn't think he did.
No, and as I watched it, as I sat there, and I was like, I would totally take advantage of the situation. Now I was like, learn everything that I can about what you've been through, the things you've done, because I'm gonna compare my notes and the things that I've done, because the minute, like, it's funny because the minute she starts talking about oral, and I'm like, I'm gonna compare all my notes with your notes, and like that's what Banky, Holden's over there being a little bitch, and he is, because and Banky's like, I'm gonna compare notes because if I can get in the mind of you and I can fix my predicament, I'm gonna learn from this situation, you know, because you're you know, it's like literally taking the bread from the baker going, tell me what's going on here. And I think that in that situation he takes
and it's very Jawsy, the comparison. He talks about it in one of his Q&A or commentary track. It's inspired by Jaws, and you can see it. I mean, if you're a fan of Jaws, you know that scene.
Yes,
and I think it's great. I really do.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. I was so elated watching that scene at this point. I mean, I literally put my hand right here so I didn't have to see his face. I was literally Becky and Alyssa, you know, just talking, because that's a great conversation. There you
go. So, okay, we go from there. They have their big animation. It's an animation deal or something. And this is where we see Matt Damon again. He pops up. And Brian O'Halloran, right?
Yeah, Brian O'Halloran. Yeah.
They come in as the execs of whoever the animation.
Like TV execs or something, what they are. Something like that, you know.
Yeah.
Very, very short scene, but very, you know, like, are we going to get the deal or are we not? You know, this, that, the other.
Yeah. And then we get to another one of my favorite scenes. I think it's a very, I would say, touching, even though the subject, the dialogue is kind of, I won't say like G-rated, like love. This is very explicit, but I still think it's very touching. The conversation and the connections they have there, where these,
in the car.
About penetration and was oral too. Was talking about the size of tongues.
Yes, when they're sitting on the swings talking about.
I love that swing set scene.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we all, from a certain perspective, we have to consider what he's asking to be a very legitimate question. Mm-hmm. But if we don't know from the other side, if we don't see from that side, you sit there and go, all right, I get it. But what's really weird is even from that age, that early 20-somethings age, you sit there and you hear him give like, oh, I don't believe that at all. Like, dude, you're a writer. Yeah. You're a comic book writer. You sit there and you're supposed to be ideas, and you're there and you're still saying that you can't wrap your brain around what she's saying. Like that kind of bothered me. I was gonna say that's one of those scenes that it also kind of bothered me, because I was like sitting there going, you're a comic book guy. You're open to all. You have to be putting yourself out there. You're this, that, and the other. But she says that sex isn't penetration. You're like, that can't be the case. And you're like,
well, he says about sticking the finger in his ass. It means I've had anal sex.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's like, no, and I get that. I do. I get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
But
it's a great scene.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, I think that's what I'm saying. We may disagree on like 100% of these scenes, but they're so well written that gets us talking about them, which means they're great scenes, because regardless of how we interpret them, they're still great scenes. That's what about.
I love, just for the fact that you can see that there's chemistry between them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and I really like that.
Yep. 100%.
Okay, so we go from. I'm sorry, I just got my notes here.
No, you're saying this is your movie, man. I'm just
yeah. Okay. The next couple scenes is where you start to see Banky's jealousy, or maybe jealousy ain't the right word. Maybe it's, hey, what the fuck? Like you said earlier, what the fuck you're doing? This is not going to end well.
It's reality. It's for Banky. Reality. It's not for Holden. It's Banky's reality. And I think that the scene that you're coming upon, or the thing that you're talking about, is the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, the angry lesbian, and the lipstick lesbian. And when he's like, don't fucking exist, because and he's right, and sit there, and there was a friend of mine at college. He was always talking about that was his favorite scene in a movie up until that ever. That was literally his favorite scene. He would always reference that. He's like, because they don't fucking exist. He would always say that, and that's where there's a portion of me when I watch that now, and I'm like, he's right. They don't. So why would you sugarcoat that, what someone really is about, and then you completely 180 it when you meet somebody? And then we'll come back to that as well. I mean, you can always change your position, you can always change your thought process, but at that point in time when he was like, oh, that's what I'm looking for, and she's my everything, I was like, yeah, you're barking up the wrong tree at that point.
And then there's more scenes that I just the little where they showed the montage of them doing things. I think that's a little bit before this. Yeah. But then they go to
them playing skee ball is great. One of the best
I got laid, and there goes
that's a
Yeah. And then they're at the lot or the diner, and I do like this scene because I think it's a genuine, hey, I care about you moment. It's weird, and it might seem stupid to people, but it's the thought that counts. Is when she bought that painting, and I love that.
That
goes into the car scene we were talking about.
Yeah.
We don't really need to talk because it's just a fantastic scene.
I mean, the car scene, for anybody that's watching, everybody knows the car scene when he pours, literally pours his heart out. He literally pours his soul. Not even his heart, he pours his soul out. You know, he pours every emotion that he's feeling towards this person, and regardless whether they're gay, straight, lesbian, but whatever he's talking about, he's literally pouring his soul out to another person. You know, and to those, you know, we're watching. Rich and I were talking about this before we even came on, and we were talking about how this is a lot to throw on someone. It's a lot to anybody. It's a lot to throw on, you know, regardless of whether you how do I want to put it? If the person you believe has those same feelings, if you throw that amount of, shall I say, verbal diarrhea on someone, okay, they're going to have to clean themselves off pretty well before they can even respond to you, because it is a lot. It's a lot of word vomit coming on you. And you're like, I can't even respond until I clean myself off. But if you're not there, if you're not in the moment, and that person is on the receiving end of said barrage of just emotions, you're going to react the same way that Alyssa does. And I think we came to this conclusion before we even said this. Yeah. You're going to come to that conclusion. You're going to tell the person, fuck off, because you didn't even give me the proper amount of time to prepare for said word vomit, diarrhea, whatever you want to call it. That just I don't have time to block it. I don't even have time to just come with a great way, because that's the only conclusion you're going to say, regardless of how you feel with that person. Because I think a lot of us, maybe not everybody, a lot of us have been there. We've poured our heart out to someone.
I mean, if
when
you no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. Go.
I just believe that this character's mind, Alyssa is his soulmate, and he wants to fight no matter what. Because I believe in soulmates, and I will fight for hey, I believe this is it, me and you. But that other person has to reciprocate, has to feel the same way, or you're fighting for nothing, you know. And I think Alyssa, like we said, Alyssa's response is natural. That's the one thing. It felt real. Oh, my cat just jumped on me. Sorry. It felt very real. And then you can't
turn around and go and be like, yeah, I feel that way too. Like, no, like that immature to think that there's someone's gonna feel that way. B, that they're gonna respond exactly the same way that you want them to. But C, just sit there and go like, well, what are your thoughts on this? Because you could tell he was like, well, come on, what are your thoughts on it? Like, and then when she didn't respond supposed to, I thought that was the most real of that conversation. The real part of that was her walking out. The real part of her was telling him, look, you've thrown right. It's a reasonable process. It's hard to process, because no matter if, like, I mean, years ago, I'm throwing this into the mix. Years ago, I literally had to tell this chick that I was seeing years ago. I'm talking 99. Some of you might not even been born. Some of you whatever. But I literally was. I was like, you, and I was like, I couldn't bring myself to say it because I wasn't there yet. But I was like, I knew what I felt, but I couldn't bring myself to say it because we've been dating for a year. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to throw myself out there, but I was like, but it was funny because she would go, well, you too. And I was like, all right, well, like, I know what you mean. But in this case, if it wouldn't have been that case, I didn't say it, but it was like, it came to that point where, in this case, where he Holden throws himself out there and just levels her like just bomb, if you will, just levels her, and she does like, how are you supposed to respond to that? You just walk out. That's what you do.
Because we've all been there as guys. It's told the woman
Yeah.
that we love them, and hope you feel the same way. Because it's scary when you tell somebody,
Right.
and they don't respond. You're like, oh. And like he said, was it something I said? I love that line. Okay,
yeah, that's a great. It's a great line. It's totally.
It's a great. And I wonder if that's ad libbed, like Michael said earlier. I wonder if that's one of those Ben Affleck ad libs.
I actually kind of hope so in that case, because it was perfect to leave it in. Because was it something I said or something? Of course it was something you said. Like,
yeah,
you know, that's. But yeah, no, it's absolutely. I agree 100% there.
Then we get the scene that you talked about earlier, and I agreed with you. She takes off running and then runs back. And what did you say that was?
I'll be honest, you know, just knowing what I know about life now, knowing how I respond to relationships now, and what I've seen of life. I'm on marriage 2. Ashamed to admit that. You know, what do you do for not so special occasions?
Oh yeah.
Okay. But in this case, that person, when you do that, they're not coming back. Like she runs back to the car and they're like making out, blah blah blah. No, that shit doesn't happen. Doesn't like
not in real life.
When you piss somebody off, they're pissed off for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, week, you know, until they calm down. If they calm down, right? And so you have to approach that very, very delicately as you come back and you go, "Hey, just wanted to see how you were doing. You know, you all right?"
Yeah.
Then you get that text back and you're like, "I'm all right. You want to go hang out or talk somewhere?" You're like, "Can we?" You know, with a little question mark.
Yeah,
but like. There's no way in this day and age, or even, you know, from a relationship standpoint, that if you throw that at somebody, there's a 1 in a billion chance that person comes running back to you, because I know full well that person would run away, and they'd run away because they're running away for the reasons they're supposed to run away, not to come back. You know, I was like, even if you had that predilection to come back, that notion to come back, you probably still wouldn't. You just probably still wouldn't. And I hate to say it, but you just probably wouldn't.
No. I mean, dude, like we said before, I've done it. You've done it.
Yeah.
It means, yeah.
It's heartbreaking too. It's that part, that scene, just in this as a whole, was not realistic to me. Should have went away, and he should have he should have contacted her like 2 days later, and she should have been like, "All right, I've had time to think about a lot of the shit you said, and we should we should go to some coffee." Yeah, like something like that, because that's not that doesn't happen 2 seconds later. Just doesn't.
No. And then the movie goes into, doesn't Banky walk into him after the next morning or something?
Yeah. Pops his coffee and he sees them, you know, on the couch. Yeah. And he's like, "That's my couch," you know.
Yeah. I lost my notes here, sorry.
Like, I hope you're gonna clean my couch, you know that, right?
And then we got the camera crew. We said that, right? Did I talk about the camera crew? You noticed the camera crew in the shot when she's running. You can see him taking with the camera.
No, I didn't notice that. I'll have to go back and check that out.
Go back in that scene. You can see the whole camera crew following her in the reflection of the.
Nice, I dig that. Oh God, we could talk about High Fidelity was in my top 5 with, oh gosh, 4K Lowdown. That was High Fidelity's in my top 5. You know, I could sit and wax poetic about High Fidelity for the next 2 hours, but that's,
you know what, Adam? I've never seen it. I have never seen High Fidelity.
Oh my God! I had the book, I had the movie. I like that's one. If you're into, you know, tugging at your heartstrings and talking about relationships. Oh my God, you should watch that tonight. Like I'm telling you, watch that tonight because you will be addicted to that movie from here on out because you will play over and over and over again. Thank you, Caveman, for bringing that up.
Yeah.
It is not a comedy. It is a
I'm gonna have
book.
to watch it next week. I'm gonna put that on my list to watch.
Yes.
Yeah, most definitely.
Oh yeah, it was in my top 5. We were talking about that.
Send me a text later so I can remember to watch High Fidelity.
No, and again, moving on when he went. Okay, so they're together. Yeah. They're together. Banky comes in, and they have to go outside. And they're talking about it, and they sit there and they talk about it, and then
Caveman.
Yeah, thank you, Caveman. Appreciate that. And he's like, well, he's like, you're gonna have to. Just basically watch yourself. Just watch what life brings you. Watch how this. Yeah. Even Banky kind of. He's like, just watch how it plays out, and that's what he's giving him the forewarning, if you will. Just watch how this is going to handle itself, and you're gonna see things that you never wanted to see, and I think that was a warning he basically gave him.
And see, when I've seen this movie hundreds of times, but when I was watching it with a critical eye last time, because sometimes I don't watch these movies with a critical eye. I just put it on, wait for my moments to pop up on the screen. I thought this used to be a jealousy scene. These scenes were him being jealous, but the more you say it, and then the more I'm thinking about as they're playing in my head, they're not. No, they're not.
He's not jealous. He's not jealous. He's telling him, like, look, I'm your buddy. I'm your pal. I'm your friend. What you want to call it. He's like, I can tell what you're feeling before you even feel it. And he's like, you might not think that way. He's like, but I've been around you for the last 8, 10, 12 years, whatever you want to call it. Whatever in the movie, they never give a time frame for it. They're buddies. They're friends, coworkers. So when he's telling him, he's like, look, I'm looking out for you. You have to take that as a grain of salt. And I think those of us, or anybody at that age, when you fall in love or, you're never going to take your buddy or your friend's perspective for it. You're just going to ride it out. And that's what he does in this. He rides it out.
You're right. And then this is where, again, the old Rich, when he gets the yearbook, and the dirt on Alyssa, it's rough because you don't want to find out the dirt on somebody secondhand. You want to find out from that person, But Holden was, I don't know if she ever said it. I don't remember if she said she'd never been with a man. She never said that in the movie, right? No, he just assumed. Right? He assumed that she was only with women.
Yes.
And then you get to that scene, the build up to that scene you love so much. You get the hockey, the tension. I love that scene where he's so like just fucking poking.
Poking the bear. He's poking the bear.
And then she's, yes, I fucked it. He fucked me while I blew him or something like that.
That's literally when you poke the bear, the bear. And that's what happens in this scene. And I agree with this. And I think there's so many people that may take this completely out of,
Thank you.
But here's the thing with that. I don't think, and this is where we may differ on opinions on this movie. Even if you found this stuff out, you're not going to do it in public. That's just ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You're never going to do that in public. B, you could stew and then have that person just be like, what are you stewing about? You're like, nothing. I'll tell you about when we come. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to stew. And then you're going to act like something's, maybe not wrong or whatever, and you're going to pretend or whatever. But when she flips out on him, and then when they go, for those watching, those who know this movie, when they go argue in the parking garage, this is one of the, to me, and again, I know Rich loves this movie, and I love him for loving this movie. I do. But to me, this was one of these scenes that was so cringe. It was so over the top when she was like, I love you. It's not, but dude, I'm at that age now where when I watch this, if I had ever presented this in the way that he presents this to her, and like, you're a whore, you're a slut, those women would have left.
Yes.
They would not have turned around. It's because I love you. It's because like that was because it made it so difficult, because I've been in very bad relationships and I've been in very good relationships. I'm in a good relationship now. I'm in very bad relationships. And if you bring that kind of shit up, dude, they don't forget. They don't forgive. They don't this, that, and the other. I'm like, yeah, you might love the person, but in that heat of the moment, you're not going to be like, it's because I love you. No, you're going to tell that person, go fuck yourself.
Right.
And you're going to go leave. Like, that's what I mean. I'm sorry. This may not be the most PG-13 of all of our reviews, but what I'm saying is that's not love. That's not life. Life is brutal. Life is tough. No, it's just what I mean. It's not real. It's not they waited so many movies afterwards, but they mentioned or brought up asked. I can't believe that's true. But what I'm saying, in this case, it's so, that scene is so brutal that if we're writing it from a perspective of someone who is in their 30s or 40s, maybe not somebody from their 20s. Okay, I give Kevin Smith that. He was writing it from his. But if you wrote it from somebody who was in a marriage or in a second or third or marriage or something like that, that person would be like, go fuck yourself, and they would leave, and that scene would have been 2 minutes long. And 10 seconds long, not her just groveling at his feet, which makes no fucking sense to me. No sense at all. And she's like, it's just my life. It was this and other. Because if she had to literally,
I agree with everything she
what I want to say. If she, yes, because she's like, look, it was my life. What is your problem with knowing what my life was before you jackass? You know, because from somebody in an age where I'd be like, you blew somebody and took it in the ass and say, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, I'm not trying to be like a guy, but another mother. That's pretty cool. I mean, it sounds like you had a really fun day there. Like that would have been like my response. But him, he's sulking. He's very melodramatic about it. He's very in his own feelings about it, and that's what yes, and it's so horrifying. It's almost cringe to watch because when you look at an age where that stuff doesn't really matter anymore. Like, I mean, there's OnlyFans. People sell their feet pics. They're like, that's like it doesn't matter. In the mid-90s, when you wrote this, things like that still had a precedent. They still set, they were things that still had weight. And so, you look at him and go, I can't handle that you did this stuff. And she's like, I love you anyway. It's so, to me, it's so,
because she had
rough.
Some sex.
And again,
that's what he said. She goes, I had sex. She goes, I had some sex. She goes, no, he goes, I had some sex. You had like whatever sex he said. I do like that line.
And it was like, it's rough because the idea that he's belittling her for doing the things he did. And like, I get that if you can't get past that stuff, then that's your own hang up. It's your own hang up. I get it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, she could have been the most amazing woman, and you're willing to throw that all away.
Exactly. That's where I felt the soft. I saw this at just the right time because like that was irrational. Yes, and so so
you learned from this. I learned from Chasing Amy.
The idealism of having that perfect relationship, it's never going to exist. It doesn't
Right.
exist. Work involved in all this shit.
Yeah.
But you dwell, and I'm serious. The minute that you dwell on someone else's backstory is the minute that you personally will never move forward, because you're dwelling on someone's backstory.
Yeah.
What? Like you'll never amount to anything, because it's the backstory that makes the future story so much better. Because
100% agree with that.
it's like if you like, and you know, moving forward. Okay, we're talking about this scene. We're dwelling on this scene, but moving forward, and the you know, we're talking about someone who's loving someone who can't get past someone's, you know, things that they've done in the past, and then he comes to this realization. Holden comes to this realization that he's like, well, if I can be this crazy freak that you need,
Yeah.
that you're going to, and I will be the number. And as a Kevin Smith fan, I sat there, and it broke my heart to watch that thing that he wrote, that about, well, if I just fuck you and him at the same time. And I was like, I'm just sitting there, my head down, and I was like, how did you even write this? I was like, it's so hard.
I think he wrote it to be horrible, to show how stupid Holden is, because Alyssa goes, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it.
Yeah,
she says it like 3 times.
Yes.
And I think the purpose was to show how stupid fucking Holden was. He had this woman that was amazing.
Yeah.
And then he pissed it all away.
That's what I'm saying. Like, as I watch that now, as I watched it, and I was like, I really want to feel for this guy. I really want to feel for his situation. I really want to understand where he's coming from. But even from, again, this heterosexual male mind you have, you sit there and you go, this is about to be the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And it really, when he expresses it, and she's like, and she slaps him in the end. She's like,
you're a fucking idiot. If I want to be your whore.
For the number one reason, and it was for no other reason, because she was like, I'm not your whore. And like, that's the number one takeaway from that entire thing that he says. And he sits there mouth agape, like he is 100%
like shocked.
Like he does this so much in the movie, and it makes me so but, like, it just, when she's like, I still is my yes.
Me too.
Go.
This movie for me, I think I told Adam, this movie, it gets me in my feels, because you know, we've all had that woman that, like I said before, we all have that woman that we've loved, and it just falls apart. And you do, and I think Holden was just trying to find a way to get her to keep her, and Adam's frozen, I think.
No,
you're not
right.
frozen. But yeah,
I was like, because I'm still trying to
hold like place in my heart.
It's, at the time, it was made before the internet had relationship meaning possible, meaning say that ease of access to meeting other people makes people. Yes, okay, I will agree that meeting people is disposable now, and I get that. I also get that, but even then, okay, you meet somebody, you fall for them.
Yes,
you really put yourself out there, and you're like, I'm gonna be this person, and this, that, and the other, and I'm gonna do that. There's no way that a person who has any sort of, you know, I want to say just self-awareness would sit there and go, this is definitely going to have some merit to it. And this is definitely going to have some possibility to it. Like, okay, like, and again, that 1 in a million shot where you turn someone from the dark side to the light side, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to, however you want to put it. And maybe that's going to happen. Maybe that person is just like, I love you no matter what the situation is. I don't care whether you're gay, straight, bi, lesbian, whatever it is. They love you for who you are, and that is the case. But in this situation, the way it's presented is so, I don't want to say far-fetched, because it isn't far-fetched. That's not the word.
No.
The word I'm looking for is so astronomically impossible. If
this is where I disagree.
Yeah, it's not astronomical. Okay, maybe I'm also thinking of the wrong contextual way to present this. It's not astronomically impossible. You may love someone for who they are and what they stand for, and you can see them as that person. But in the long run, he got what he was after. He did. And I'm saying he did. He got what he was after. Because he poked the bear so much that when the bear finally attacked and took off his limb, he was like, oh, I should have realized the bear could have always taken off my limb. And like, yeah, that I had to realize the whole time. Yeah. So being the self-aware part of this movie is, I get it. It's very self-aware. But would you have ever put yourself in that position to begin with? Always one for me. Always.
My take is that this is a love story that doesn't have I see it as a love story. It doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. It doesn't, because I think what this boils down to was that he wasn't comfortable with himself to accept what she did in her past. And this could be reversed from a girl's perspective to in a guy's, something around a lot. I had this all in my thoughts as you were talking.
Yeah.
And I just went away.
This is why we appreciate each other so much, because I love hearing what you have to say.
Oh man, my brain went quiet on me.
No, just keep going.
But
it's what's on the surface. It's the best.
It's you said this is astronaut. I think it's very real, because we all self-sabotage our relationships, and that's what it did. This was self-sabotage, and that's why I've done it. I've done stupid shit in relationships. I have a failed marriage. I've had ex-girlfriends, and I take full responsibility for that shit. And I'm gonna say this again. I have learned from this movie. If this is one movie that's, oh shit, I'm starting to get emotional. Hold on, man.
That's hey, do what you got to do. That's what we're here for. This is what this is all about. This is what we are reviewing.
Because when you love someone, you don't. Oh my god, I can't believe I'll get emotional.
It's all right, dude. You are in perfect company. I promise you.
It's when you love someone, you will do anything that you think will keep him. And I think that's what Holden was doing. He was, okay, I'm gonna do this stupid idea. We're gonna have a fucking threesome, and it's gonna fix everything. And then when you know deep down that's not gonna work.
It's not gonna fix Jack. It's not gonna fix Jack. Yeah, and that look, I'm right there with you.
And that's self-sabotage.
It is. No, and I love you to death for you showing what I'm serious. As a brother, I love you to death for showing who you. In this case, I appreciate that. I'm throwing that out there. I 100% appreciate you showing your true emotions in this case, because I'm gonna do that.
I agree, bro.
Well, no, when we do Dogma, if I don't break down in I'm gonna lose, because there's some scenes in Dogma where I'm gonna be like, oh shit, like I'm gonna lose my shit, and I know that because I've watched that 1,000 times, and there's enough times where I'm gonna do that. But in this case, you're right. You're right. My whole thing right now is that if this was written from a dude, and I think and this is where I'm at in my life. If this is written from a dude's perspective about doing something for his kids, that he would first go, oh my god, I'd be right there. Like, there's no way that I would. Some days, even when I look at my kids, when they're so aggravating, and they're so just, I'm like, oh, it's not straight. I was like, if someone were to do something to you, I'd go to prison for you, and I'd die for you. I was like, I would. But mind you, before children was relationships, and before and before that, those relationships were what mattered. Those relationships were what built us. Those relationships were what set a foundation for what we will and will not accept in life. And those foundations that we're building things on now, we see those in the cinema. We see those what people write, and they get us right in the feels.
It does. It really does.
And it does. That's what I'm saying. They get us in the feels. And I can't tell you how many times I've watched something, heard something, lyrics to songs. You know, me, I'm a lyrics to songs guy. And there's some lyrics to songs that if I say them out loud, and not that they're in the song, but if I say them out loud, I get all choked up because that's how I feel. Like that's
right.
But in this case, that's why I bear no ill will. I bear no ill will, because when you get it in the feels, that's where it matters.
Yeah.
So in this case, regardless of whether I have a very different view on this film, I don't think you feel from this film, because I appreciate, and that's what I'm saying. It makes me appreciate the fact that you do get it right here. And that's what I'm saying. Like that's where I feel that I'm going to also have these. Well, I'm gonna have to look away from the screen in Dogma, because there's a few parts, there's a couple parts in that where I've watched the same scene 1,000 times over again, and I've gotten more out of said scene than most people ever will, and it's because I'm reading into a little bit more. But in this case, again, I 100% appreciate and understand the feelings that you get from said thing, because one time I'll agree with this. Let me throw something at you that has nothing to do with this film, but has everything to do with this film. I was at a bar one time with a guy that was 10 years my senior. He was my chef at the time. And he had just recently gotten divorced. I was 19 years old. I had no idea. And Lethal Weapon was on. And the scene where Mel Gibson's character was contemplating, taking his life. And I was like, who the fuck would do that? And he goes, you ever been married? Have you ever been in a relationship before? Do you have kids? And I go, no. And he goes, shut the fuck up. And I went, what? And I was like, and he goes, trust me, you'll understand someday in life. And I went, all right. And I was like, I love how people are prophetic in what they tell me in life. And I've been in those situations where I've been fetal when someone has left me, and just holding on to my dog. And I was like, boy, people they hit you where you least expect it. And what I'm saying is, like, I understand. I might not agree, but 100% do I understand. And that's what I love about this type of film, this type of...
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, the power of cinema, the power of movies.
Oh,
it's a silly, it comes from a silly dick and fart joke director. Look at Clerks, you look at Mallrats, then you look at James Silent Bob Strike Back, Yoga Hosers.
Yeah.
You don't... I think Chasing Amy and Dogma, I think, have the most meaning and impact out of this whole filmography. And I think a little bit of Clerks too does for me too.
Yeah.
But those two films,
it does, and like I said, I can't stress to you how much I appreciate you putting yourself out there like that, because again, I know I'm going to do that. And
I just came out of nowhere. Dude, I apologize.
No. Yeah, shut up! Don't apologize. And I'm saying that as your brother. Don't even do that. Because you're you, and I appreciate that. In the Underwater Discoveries, Well, I mean, come on. I mean, that's like, dude. Tell me you're not a human being if you watch Seven when he's like, "What's in the box? What's in the box?" He's crying because he knows. He knows. I mean, it's like we're all human. We know what's in the box. We don't have to look in the box. We know what's in the box.
And that's getting a 4K release, by the way.
Oh, okay. But what I'm saying is, like, we're human. So the human element of these films is really what brings to the surface the idea behind Chasing Amy. Because when they're in the diner at the end, when they're in the diner, when he tells the story of
Yes.
Chasing Amy, that was the point where I was like, all right. I was like, even as an adult, all right, I get it. I get it now. Like, I understand it. Like, I get how you feel, and I get
how they
you
got
were
Jay and Silent Bob.
unsympathetic. Like, and I get how he was unsympathetic to her life before him. But when he was like, oh yeah, well, maybe I should have just taken that step back a couple notches and been like, yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it is what it is, But we don't. I don't think we sit there and we go, it is what it is when we see it right, right there. We don't, because there's you take a step back from you hear it. At first off, because it's right there. It's right on your frontal cortex. You can't get away from it. It's just going to be sitting there until you can take a step back from it and go, all right, well, it is what it is, So
okay, he goes. He kind of jumped around there. He went to the diner, met Jay and Silent Bob, paid them their money with the royalties for Chronic or
Blunt Chronic, yes.
Blunt Chronic. And then he gets the boneheaded idea to. That's right before he goes for the stupid threesome.
Yes.
And then was it like 1 year later, 2 years later? I forget.
Yeah. And then it was about a year. I think they said a year later.
You get to that comic book scene where Ethan Suplee, I think that's how you say his name, is talking to Banky, which I love how they brought him back too.
Yeah. Ethan. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which he's jacked now, man.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So jealous.
Me too. Like, I look at him and I'm like, I want that.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm too lazy for that shit. And he's talking about what happened, and he's going off, and then he spots. I love that scene with Holden and Banky.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he's like, "Hey,"
I
love that. I do.
Because we know what they're talking about. I don't have to say anything. We know what they're talking about. And that's where I believe that life experience of just them being in that relationship that they were in really fulfills that coming of age where they're like, we'll probably get coffee in a couple weeks. I'll call you. We'll meet up again. It might not be the same, but we'll catch up again. But when everybody in a situation like that, you need your distance. There's no way that you couldn't.
Because if my buddy asked me to have a threesome with him and his girl, I'd be like, "Whoa, wait a minute."
I'd be like, at my age now, I'd be like, thank you for thinking of me. Number one.
You're right.
Thank you for thinking of me being in that number one spot, first round draft pick kind of, thing. But secondly, I'm going to have to politely decline because, but it's weird how that was I don't want to say the third act, kind of the end all be all of the third act, kind of is. And you sit there and you just go, God, this is so rough to watch. Like, literally, it like going back and watching it is a rough watch. Because
I get why you say it,
because he's sitting there, he's so pushing for something that immediately when it comes out of his mouth, you're just like, oh God. You could see, because you get to a point when you're, again, I think, I'm beating a dead horse here, but when you get to a certain age, when you can see it coming out of his mouth, like it's almost visible. You can almost see it coming out of his mouth. And you're just like, don't do it. Don't
and then
do
her
it.
reaction is
And
just
then that was exactly her reaction. Don't do it. Don't say it. Don't do it. And Banky's over there just going, oh my God. Because they're trying to be nice. They're trying to be friends that they're supposed to be. And it's so cringe. But I guess in Kevin Smith's world, he had to put it out there for
Yeah.
it to be known, for it to be said and stated, and this, that, and the other, for those of us in the audience to go, oh, it was so wrong. Like,
See, I still think it was because Holden was a fucking idiot, and he wanted to do anything he could to hold on to that love.
Yeah.
But then we get that great moment at the end with Alyssa and I almost said Ben, Holden.
Yeah.
And I do like that. He throws the book down.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, that's not mine." And then she looks up and sees who it is, and then she tears up. And so she opens the book, and then
it's very. I love the cover of that Chasing Amy. That cover is that cover. You could, dude, you get a tattoo of that cover. It's so good. It's so perfect. That cover. And I will say, you know, I like the ending, because the ending is very very on the nose. The ending is very on the nose, and where he's just, and I hate to harken back to a song from 2 or 3 years ago now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost like future, you know, one of my favorite terms from the last 5 years is future proves past. And what I mean by that is in this case, when she's like, it's just a guy I used to know, like that song, like somebody I used to know. So the future proves the past in that song, when she's like, it's just somebody that I used to know. Like, and I'll be honest, because when that song came out was right around the time that I was getting my divorce. When you really take those words to heart, it's somebody that I used to know. Like, not even like love interest. It's just when somebody literally says it like that, it's just somebody that I used to know. That's rough. That's rough. That's just rough, because when you put it out on surface level like that, and because she's sitting there with her new lover, if you will, or her whatever.
That's the way I took it.
Yeah, that's the way I took it too. But when she's just like, somebody that I used to know, you know, like, what did that person not know what she says by that, but he knows what she means by that when he looks back. It's that song, and I hate to say it, but that song it's when you put your mind around that song, it's rough. But you when you literally break down years of being with somebody, to have that person literally just come out and say, somebody I used to know, that's a kick in the balls. Like, that, it really is. It's a kick in the balls, because what have you all done together? And that's where when he looks back at like that, it's bittersweet. It is 100% bittersweet, but I think it's actually rougher for her in this case. That's why I was like, she even tears up. You see her tear up. That's why my opinion on the ending, I think, has changed a lot more, is because he looks back and goes, I've already had my condolences over this. I want you to have yours condolences over this now. Yeah. Like, and he does. And those condolences may only be 15, 20 seconds, but it's enough for him to see it, you know, that he recognized it. So it comes full circle. Yeah. And that's what I loved. That's the one thing I loved about Reboot, is we got that connection again. Just for a split second. And I'm not gonna lie to you, that scene made me tear up. Yeah. It really did. I was like, oh man. Favorite part of the whole movie. Yes. Yeah. You die or live long enough to see become the Yes, that's true. It is. I mean, but it's one of the greatest lines ever written, because it's so true. It is true. Now, was Holden the villain? No, he's not the villain. He's not the villain. By no stretch of the imagination do I think he's a villain. I think he was very like we were talking, like Rich and I were talking about before this. That it was a comedian I listened to a lot. His name's Kyle Kinane. If you ever get a chance, listen to him. When he was talking about it, he's like, when I was 22, he was telling a story when he was 22. when I was 22, he's like, he's like, you're not even a man, you're just a creature. It's like, it's kind of true, because when you're that age, you can't process everything that you think that you can process, no matter how much you believe you can. if you think that you can process somebody's old habits, if you can process their old way of life, if you can because what you want them to be in your brain, there's no way that they can reach that level of perfection that you're leading them down to. It's not going to happen. So I think that's why I don't think he's the villain. I just think he was, as I don't potentially like his character, he's still not a villain. He's just human.
No.
That's what it is. He's just human. He's just human.
So my overall takeaway from Chasing Amy, watching it with a more critical eye, and I'm going to sum it up to this dude Holden wanted love. Like we all want love, to be loved.
Yeah. Of course.
Whether it's whoever you choose to love, it don't matter to me.
No.
I think this movie transcends more than gay. Great gay love story. I think it's just a straight up love story that he was willing to do whatever it took for him to do to keep the love, even if it was stupid. That's what I sum it up.
Yeah. And that's why I give this, I honestly give it 2 scores. And I'll tell anybody this to this day. I'll give it 2 scores. I'll give it the 4. I'll give it the 4 for being that story that transcends. The story that, you sit there and you go 4 out of 5. I'll give it that story that you want it to be more than it's ever going to be. And then when you push it too far, you get what you get because you pushed it too far. And that's what happened. So there's the 4 out of 5. I'll give it the 3 out of 5 for watching it from an older perspective and seeing it for a story that you want to be more than it is, but it's very surface level. It's very I think that a lot of decisions were not as well written out as they could have been. So overall, I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. Because that's 4 out of 5 and a 3 out of 5. So I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5.
Let me look at my letterbox because I don't remember what I gave it. I think I gave it 4.5. No, I gave it 5. I did, and I remember why I gave 5. It's because the connection. This movie, I identified the most. I think I didn't even give Clerks. I gave Clerks 2 a 5. I think that's the only 2 Kevin Smith movies that I've given 5s to, and that's it. So I give it a 5-star.
Yeah, I look. I can't disagree with you because it's your heart. It's your heart where you're feeling. I would never
Michael.
Somebody, it's a 5 for sure. You're never going to take away somebody's feels. And if you try to do that, you're an asshole. So don't ever
right.
Buddy, don't ever try to do that to somebody.
Yeah.
But the thing is you could never take away where you were and how you felt seeing something the first time, because that's how you're going to feel forever when you see that because every time you see it, it's going to be for the first time again. If that's how you felt when you felt.
That's a good way to put it.
And that's how I will always think. I think that's how I always feel when it comes to Clerks. Was one of them. When I saw it for the first time, I was so taken aback by something that was very, very on the nose, very this is how 2 people talk when they're just hanging out together.
Yeah, very real.
But very real. Yeah. Now, Mallrats, I felt a little differently about because, different time.
It was silly.
Yeah, it was silly. But our next one, but I watched it a few days ago to prep for this and still has been said, well, that's good, Mike. I'll be honest with you. And if I can call you Mike, that's my older brother. That's my older brother's first name, so I just call him Mike. But I appreciate that's where you are when you feel that feel that way. But I'm telling you, for me, I can't.
Uh-oh, you froze.
Can't wait. I can't. It's one of those ones that if you set me down, I could write a 30-page paper on Dog because there's so much, there's so much that I can't wait to break down about this.
Can I miss something to you?
What's that?
I'm gonna miss it. I haven't seen Dogma probably in 15 years.
There's
15 years.
There's a scene there's a scene in particular that, if to give a preview of how eloquently explained, that's but there's a scene where
Adam's a wordsmith.
I try. I appreciate that. But there's a scene in Dogma that I appreciate that, Michael. I do. That I want everyone, if you've watched the movie, if you haven't watched the movie, I want you to go back and watch the movie for a preview of what we're coming up on next, because that's where we're going next, is Dogma. Because Kevin Smith started writing Dogma before he started writing Clerks. For those of you who watch us, he started writing it before he was writing Clerks. But he just wanted the perfect cast to fit what he wanted in Dogma. Now, was everything perfect in Dogma? It wasn't. But there's so much about it that I like. But if there's one scene that I want everybody just to partake in one time, it's the scene where Loki and Bartleby are in the underground basement and they talk about seeing the last Zion. If you watch that enough times, like I have, you will come to 1,005 different conclusions about what's going on there. And I have a thesis in my own mind about how I'm going to present that. And I think it is literally it brings tears to my eyes when I think about it. And that's what, in this case with you, in this movie, I think it brings, because one of my old bosses was very, very religious. And when I brought it up to him, I could kind of bring it up to him. It's very touching. It's very prophetic, and it's very it's very deep in this scene. But it's a scene where they're in the underground and they're talking about when they're talking about meeting the last Zion. And they talk about, and I don't want to give too much away, but they talk about the Morning Star. If anybody knows who the Morning Star is, you can kind of take it from there. Mm-hmm. But it's very rough when you watch it for multiple times. I think this is where Kevin Smith sometimes is a genius. And again, I hate to take away from Chasing Amy, and I'm not taking away from Chasing Amy. I'm just kind of throwing this out there. But when he talks about him sounding, this is the crazy part, when he goes, you sound like Lucifer. So I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah. It's like,
I can't wait for this.
That's what I'm saying. Like when he says it, he says you sound like Lucifer, and the look, and this is what I'm trying to tell people, the look in Matt Damon's eyes when he says that. And I really want people to watch this, because I've watched it over and over and over again. When he says, you sound like Lucifer, you sound like the Morning Star, you look in his eyes, it is a drop. It is a drop in everything that is existence. Please. And I know, look at me, he's like, you got me choked. I'm telling you, when you watch it, it is a drop in everything that you believe to be right. And I've watched that over and over and over again. And it's so, you're worried about going to Mesh Alabama, not being able to buy it. But please don't delete. No. It's a great scene. But that's the scene. It's one of the best scenes. But I think anybody who watches this will know what I'm talking about when he says, "You're starting to sound like the Morning Star. You sound like Lucifer." And when when Ben Affleck looks at Matt Damon and the look in his eyes, and he says, "You shut your fucking mouth," it's on a whole transcendental level that takes away everything. And I can't even wait till we get to the side. Like it literally is tearing me apart, because all I want to sit, like I knew our Chasing Amy talk was going to be an hour and a half, 2 hours. I knew it was. But I was like, our Dogma talk, I swear to God, it's going to be like,
it's going to be 10 hours. We're going to start at 7 a.m. and we're going to
yes. I was like, we could talk forever. But that's, and I can't, and again, I can't thank everybody enough who is in our audience.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. I can't thank you enough, because you guys literally bring us to talk about things that we might not ever bring up, because you guys bring up such great points and you guys bring up such great things that we really need to dig deeper in. And I think a lot of times do surface level, reviews of this stuff, but this next one is it's gonna be
fun. We don't have a date yet.
No, it's TBD on this one.
Yeah, I like that. TBD.
Yeah.
I hope my brain wasn't working.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you everyone that was showing up.
So much
all
for
the chat talk.
Yes.
We appreciate you.
100%. Appreciate it. I guess I wish Kevin would come in here one time and go, I never thought about it like that.
right?
Just come in the audience and be like, you guys are amazing. You should come.
I would probably fucking have a heart attack.
I know.
I'm a widowmaker.
I'd be like, hey, wifey, Kevin Smith's literally commenting on our, like, how long will I got to get Rich to watch it. I
will try to get to it next week.
Yes, because that's one too. And now here's for those are out there in the audience. I think we could throw this out there. Maybe we're going to try to make it come to fruition. We've got lots of Kevin Smith to go. So let's just put that out there. We've got lots of Kevin Smith to go. We've got about 7 or 8 more Kevin Smiths to go. But we were talking, and maybe this will come to fruition. Maybe it won't. But maybe those out there in the audience who are watching, we're thinking about doing a Simon Pegg, Edgar Wright podcast after this, doing the Cornetto trilogy and everything else that they've. So those who. I just thought that would be something to throw out there.
Yeah, you said Edgar Wright, right?
Yes.
And, I am down, and you got to give credit to whose idea that was.
The wifey did.
You got to give her credit for that. I am so down for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've watched Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, Shaun, and then there's Hot Fuzz, then there's
I haven't seen Hot Fuzz.
Yeah,
I have the 4K box set of that, and I haven't watched. The only one I've watched out of that is Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun's my favorite, because that's what I started with. But we've got so much Kevin to go. This is way. This is a year from now. What we're talking about. So,
but I'm having fun doing this.
Oh God!
So you got anything coming up, Adam?
As a matter of fact, not really, just kind of always just posting stuff on my, for those who follow me, I appreciate it. It's Bearded Four Eyes Man on Instagram there. As you see my name, recently I've been doing a old school Anchor Bay of the Day post. Check out my stuff. I one of my favorite things to do in the whole world is collect out of print OOP stuff. For those who follow me, I love stuff that basically before 2008, 2007 and back. That's the stuff I collect.
It's got an insane collection.
For those who let me just kind of turn around. That's a lot of my OOP collection right up there. For those who want to see it, but hit me up if you ever have any questions about anything you find that's old that we can talk about it. I collect snap cases, stuff, and for those who are into those and know what those are, please hit me up. Follow my buddy Rich here, Turner Fan 77. Please hit the like button. Follow him.
Hit subscribe.
Absolutely.
Turn those notifications on.
Please do.
And next week, with my partner in crime, David, the 4K Lowdown, we are keep going with our Wednesday night show, by the numbers, and Thursday. Or this will be at 8:30 on Wednesday.
Fun show. I jump in every now and again. It's a fun show.
I love doing that with David. David is such a fun.
Best. Shout out to Dave.
And then Thursday at 8:30, we're gonna have a marathon. It's gonna be a long show. We're gonna be doing the season finale of Alphabet Soup. We watched 24 movies. Oof, it was rough.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
24 movies.
That on there.
And we're going to score them real quick. Or we've already scored them. We're going to just count them down real quick. We're going to try to do 3 hours, get it under 3 hours, but I don't think we can because we get sidetracked all the time. What's that say? I have turkey bags.
That's right. You got it.
So, yeah, that's it for me. And I might drop another video of me and my daughter because we did What am I watching, Dad? I showed
What
her
am I
Tremors for the
Yeah.
dad for the first time, so I'll probably drop that. But that's it, man. Anything else you want to say, David? Before we
Thank
before we
you.
get here?
Thank you so much again for just putting on such a great, great show. I'm so glad to be a part of it. I appreciate it so
I'm
much.
thankful for you wanting to do it.
Oh no, I mean it's my pleasure. Thank you everybody for being in the audience. Thank you, Kay, man. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah. We've had a
Thank you,
couple of them
everybody
that didn't talk in the
in there
chat,
and
but
just
I
bringing.
appreciate you guys.
Yeah. No, thank you guys so much for showing up and liking what we do here. And if anybody knows Kevin, send us out to him. Let him know what we think.
Yeah.
Tell him what we think about his stuff. Appreciate that,
Thank you,
Michael.
Mike.
And being our View Askew historian there, always appreciate
Yeah, right.
that.
He's a fact checker.
He is, and
Yeah.
a true fact checker, not just a propagandist fact
Yeah.
checker.
There you go. I like that.
Appreciate that. And just thank you everybody for having us and letting us in the world for a little bit, and I appreciate that very kindly.
Yeah. Well said, Adam. As always, you guys take care. God bless, and have a great weekend. Talk to you guys later.
Take care.